Hey everyone, it's the Shawn. Welcome to another edition of the Influencer of Tomorrow show. Today we have a very special episode. We got Roger Wakefield and Julie Wakefield joining us again. For those of you who've been following the series, we posted a video interviewing each of them separately. But today we're bringing them together. So we're going to be talking about influence as teams. And those of you that know me know I do a lot of work around partnerships, collaboration. This show's a collaboration. It's done with my speaking coach, George Hendley. George is traveling for a speaking engagement, so he's not joining us today. But this is a collaboration show. Roger and Julie, husband and wife team, building business, building their influence together. We're going to be talking some about what that looks like, how that works for them, and what that future is. So we'll be digging into that a bit. For those of you who don't tune in as often, I'm the Shawn. I'm a corporate lawyer by training. I help people with things related to ownership and control of their business. That's mergers, that's capital raise, money, partnership agreements, contract negotiations. And I also do a lot with the future of business, which is where my shows come in. This show is focused on building influence because I think it's so important for tomorrow that each of us understand how we're influencing others, how we're making our branding and impression, and moving things forward. We love your comments, so drop them wherever you're watching. If you're watching on the Facebook feed, if you're watching on Influencer of Tomorrow YouTube, watching on one of our LinkedIn, go ahead and comment. We'd love to hear from you. We want to know what you're thinking, what you're learning, what you're seeing. I remind you, we don't do investment advice. We don't do legal advice on the show. For those issues, consult your own professional advisors. This is just for your education, give you some ideas, help you advance your business. Roger and Julie, we had you on the show once before. People who haven't checked those videos out should go back and check them out. But Roger's got a plumbing company, does a lot on social media, really built his influence. Julie has an etiquette company, helps people really build their presence and get where they want to go in business. And they get to collaborate together. So let's start with that. What's it like working together, as a husband and wife team?
Oh, God, it's horrible. It's really funny, Shawn, because when I started my business, Julie was doing etiquette and protocol full time. Mm-hmm. And we started getting so busy that I really needed help. And it was great to be able to come to her and just say, look, I really need help running the back end of the office. And she just kind of set her business aside and said, look, let me help run the back end. Julie, as you know, is a very personable, very caring, very endearing person. And when she answers the phone and talks to customers, you can hear it, you can feel it, you can believe it.
Yep.
And it's because it's real. And so bringing her in it was such a smart thing for me. And the fact that she was willing to do that, we had invested a lot of time and money helping her build JW Etiquette, that when we did bring her in, it's like, okay, all this is going to stop and wait and go by the side. But I think it's worked out well because she had such a good name in her field that she still kept getting calls. So she still stayed busy, but she was able to dedicate the time that we needed at Texas Green Plumbing in order to help build that. Is that pretty much right?
Right. And it was really, really a pleasure for me to be able to help my husband. I love being able to spend time with him. One of the things that we talk about that we love the most about working together is going to lunch together. Mm-hmm. It's just being able to come in and go, hey, are you hungry? Can we go to lunch?
Right.
And getting to spend that time together. And then, sometimes we just need to get away and just kind of talk.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I think that I love. And I know you told me you love that too, is just spending time together. Working.
And now one of the challenges we hear from other people, and I've talked to other couples that work together in business, is they also need time apart, right? So you guys have time together. How do you separate things, because I know there's stresses with building a business, growing, and you guys have been growing fast. What do you do about that? How do you get that time to reflect or to think or to
I'll let you.
Sometimes we have to have that time to decompress. The one thing I think that's come out of this is we've really learned about ourselves. Mm-hmm. So I've learned what he needs and he has learned what I need. And reading books like the 5 Love Languages, how do we fit together? How do we communicate? How do we give each other the space and the time when we need it? And so one of the things that we'll do is just separate at the house. He'll take his books or his computer or whatever, and he'll go to one room and I'll go to another, and we'll just chill, just have that time. I know I have girlfriends that I love to go out with, have a glass of wine or have dinner with. He does the same thing. He'll, go out with friends and just have that time. But both of us have discovered that one of our love languages is spending quality time together. So that has really helped us strengthen our marriage, because we know that we love spending time together. So that's one of the things I think that's been most helpful.
Yeah, and I think one of the uniquenesses of being in business together is it just enhances the amount of time you can spend together, right? Because you're going to the office together sometimes, and you're actually working on projects together. That greatly enhances the amount of time you can spend together compared to the average couple.
Right.
In different offices.
Yeah, and another thing, Shawn, is, this last week, as you know, I was in San Diego, and made some great relationships out there and met some really good people. Well, Julie was able to stay here and handle the office and really run the plumbing company. And I mean, literally there were very few calls about, hey, look, we have a problem, or hey, we need to talk to you about this. We've got things set up pretty much where it runs very well, thanks to the quality of plumbers that we have. And, that's something that has taken us a while to build to, but that really does help a lot.
Yeah, so you've got the infrastructure behind you now. You guys, it sounds like you're really tuning in on what each of you does well, right? So Roger, you're out there recording great videos, being the presence, being the personality of the brand. Julie, you're running a lot of stuff behind the scenes. You've allowed yourselves to divide based on your skills and strengths.
Right. That, and the good thing is, like you said, we're out doing videos, but also, Julie and I both get calls from companies across the United States wanting us to come in and teach different things. I go in and teach or talk to, any residential service company about networking and social media and video and SEO. And Julie gets called in to teach corporate etiquette. And we're both looking at how we can put packages together to really help people grow their businesses by doing what we're doing.
Yeah. And how did those two work together for you? I mean, so, you're talking about, servicing, different areas, right? I mean, so you got etiquette, and then you've got the residential service company consulting. Of course, you've got your business. How do you keep all these balls spinning in coordination with each other?
You ever see the guy at the circus with the plates spinning on top of the sticks? That's exactly what it feels like. But the good thing is we understand each other's strengths and what it is that we do. And the corporations that Julie goes and speaks at are probably not the same corporations that would want a plumber coming in telling them, the right way to network or the right way to have dinner and things like that. But then again, the businesses that I may walk in and speak to may not want a professional corporate etiquette type person. They want somebody that, understands what it's like to be a plumber or an electrician or whatnot, and maybe not have that college education, but still may need to sit down with some project managers or builders or something like that and have a quality conversation and understand that, when you sit down and have a dinner with them, it's not really about the dinner. It's about that relationship with that customer.
Yep.
Right. And, I teach inside the company, when we meet with our plumbers, I teach these communication skills to our plumbers.
Yes.
Because everyone needs to know how to present yourself.
And I think, Roger, let's just zoom in on that for a minute. I think you've talked a lot about that, about, the care and the quality when you go into somebody's home and the standards that you uphold.
You bet.
Let's just zoom in on that for a second, because I think it's an interesting aside as we're working through this. What is your philosophy with your customers and their homes and the care?
Well, number one, we should exceed their expectations every time. Carl Graff over at Trust Point that's done some great things for us. When we walk in customers' houses, we're having to compete with any other tradesperson, handyman, anybody who's ever come in and worked in their house before. And if they did a bad job, or they made a mess and didn't clean it up, that's what they see us as, that exact same person. Mm-hmm. So we have to literally walk in a pattern interrupt type situation and let them know, look, that's not us. We don't do things that way. Yeah. We want to do the best job. We want to give you the best care, but we also want you to understand we're not just here to fix the problem. We want to determine what caused that problem. That way you're aware of that and you're not maybe spending unnecessary money.
Yeah, I get that. Yes. And I think it's that helps reassure people. And I think maybe there's some piece of Julie that's kind of influenced that at some point along the way.
Oh, a lot. Julie tells everybody every time I'm her work in progress.
Yeah, but it's just very friendly and outward facing. Now, some people watching this might be thinking about building a team environment, right? And that may mean a husband and wife. It may mean, just people who want to do business together. What are your tips for getting a team working in business, particularly an ownership team like yourselves?
I think finding the right people is really a key there. We have, we try to hire character first. Mm-hmm. We look for people who have the same value system that we do. Mm-hmm. Experience the technical part. We can teach customer service. We can teach plumbing. Roger is a phenomenal teacher. We can teach all of those skills, but what we need to find are people who share the same vision that we have and that will be a good fit. And that's a challenge sometimes.
And I'll say this, Shawn, when it comes to building a team, if you're building an office team like Julie and I, the thing that probably helped us more than anything is me learning DISC. Yeah. And I know that sounds crazy, but so to learn what kind of person she is and how I need to communicate with her, I'm a high D. Mm-hmm. She's a high S. And for me to communicate with her the way I like to be communicated does not work.
No. Right.
And, you probably know more about this than I know you know more about it than I do. But that was a big deal for me because to learn how to communicate with her and how to take the response that I get, that was big. But another one that I think helps me a lot is the strengths finder. Mm-hmm. Don't just know what your weaknesses are and what you need work on. Know what your strengths are and build on those. And if I know my strengths and I know her strengths, that helps us look at who would be better at what part. And the other one has to understand, okay, she's better at that than me. So you know what? I'm going to let her handle that. And there's times that she'll say, hey, we need to do this. And I'm like, okay, go for it. This is yours. I get it. I understand. We may still discuss it and talk about it, but I know that she's going to be better at it than me. And that really does help me a lot.
Right. So sometimes it's hands-on. Sometimes you're taking ownership of projects. Sometimes you're getting things done. Sometimes you're passing it off to your partner.
Absolutely.
Right.
How do you set those boundaries? What does that look like?
That's a challenge, I think. And I mean, I'd chime in here anytime, Roger. I mean, for me, the boundaries, sometimes what I see as a priority, Roger might not see as a priority. Yeah. And so therein lies a sense of conflict, like, hey, Roger, I need you to do this. And Roger's like, well, I'm working on this. And so then there's conflict. And so, and this is where DISC, I think, comes in. Roger gets over things really quick. Like he can, he can be snappy. He can say, I'm not going to do that. This is not what you shouldn't even put that as your priority and just kind of go on. And then I internalize that. And then I go home and I might still be mad at him. And he doesn't know why I'm mad. And I'm like, well, I'm mad because of this. And so we have to talk it out. Yeah. And that's where I think DISC has really helped us is in that communication piece. I don't like conflict. And so I don't like to have those conversations, but I'm learning through DISC and Trust Point, all the training that we've done with them, but also just practicing it in our world, that conflict is a way to resolve problems. And if you don't ever have that conversation, you can't resolve problems. So I think that's something that we've really worked on too.
Yeah. And back to the boundaries, Shawn, is one thing that I'm really good at is I'm good at prioritizing. I understand what needs to be done and what needs to be done right now. Yeah. And Julie systematizes. Everything just goes in order. I can give her, look, this is a key project. What goes right under everything else on the list. And she's just trying to get everything done. So sometimes I may come in and say, hey, we need to get on this right now because this is critical. And she may not always agree, but at least she understands, okay, look, prioritization is something I'm better at, but getting it done is probably something she's better at, because I'm not a systems and process guy. And I'm not going to say she is really either, but she's a lot better at it than I am.
Well, I mean, I think, Shawn, too, when it comes to that, I may not agree with his way of prioritizing, but I understand that he is the president and the boss at this company. Now, Roger may laugh and say that I'm his boss. And there are areas where I might have to put my foot down and say, no, we're not going to purchase that right now. We're going to wait, whatever. But at the end of the day, he is the president, CEO of this company, and I am not. And so that's where the boundaries come in, is who owns this company and who runs it and who makes the final decisions. And so we have to understand that as well, too.
Well, and that's certainly something in my legal practice we have challenges with, particularly in partnerships, is, a lot of times people want to be 50-50. We want to be equal partners. We want to participate in decisions. And then someday, eventually, a decision comes around where the two partners can't agree. So those of you listening, you need some way to get past that, particularly on smaller decisions, right? Some way to say, hey, we're not going to agree on everything, but the business has to move forward, and we can't fight over every small decision. And it sounds like you guys have found a method for that.
You know what, Shawn, and I'll go back to one of my business coaches was Michael Gerber. Mm-hmm. And Michael Gerber's got a book, and I believe it was The Entrepreneur Within. And he teaches you to set and write an org chart.
Yeah.
He says, I don't care if it's just the two of y'all. You write an org chart. Who's in charge of purchasing? Who's in charge of marketing? Who's in charge of sales? Who's in charge of production? And you build out this org chart, what you want your company to look like in the future. Mm-hmm. But if it's just me and her right now, our names are in those boxes.
Right.
And we've always got to look back at it and say, okay, look, I need this, but you are in charge of accounts payable and accounts receivable. Can we afford to buy this yet? And Julie's really good. Well, I don't know. Let me look at the budget, because we don't have that budgeted yet.
Right. Yeah. So let's zoom in a little bit. I mean, I know your YouTube channel, The Expert Plumber, is doing very well. It's growing nicely. What's it look like behind the scenes when you're doing a project like that with the two of you?
It looks a lot like this. There's a lot of times that I'll come in here to the studio. We've actually just built this studio in our plumbing company, and we're not through with it yet. We've got other things that we're doing and working on. But Julie understands that's how we're growing Texas Green Plumbing right now, but really, we both love helping people. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why we do what we do.
Yep.
And I want to help, plumbers and electricians and people like that learn how to grow their businesses. So when we make those videos, we understand what the purpose of the video is, who we're making it for, and what value does it bring. And that's one thing that, one of my YouTube coaches has been really good about is, Roger, you have to understand, you have to have value in every video you make.
Yep.
And Julie understands that, and she gives me the time to do what I need to do. And believe it or not, she's actually recently started working on videos for her business, and not necessarily on YouTube right now, but she is putting together a great digital package in order to help these corporations. Right now a corporation may call her and say, look, we have 50 people we want you to train, but they may have 5,000 people in the company.
Yeah.
So Julie's come up with a very good way to put together a digital package to say, look, what if we put something together where you can train all 5,000 of those people? Imagine how much better a company would be with things like that. And like I said, the good thing is we understand each other. So I understand that when she's got to go do video, I need to help make sure that I'm here to help Amber or Will or somebody at the company to make sure that the back end is doing what it's supposed to do. But Julie's also good enough to understand, look, if I'm going to be out tomorrow, there's things I have to take care of today to make that happen. And I think we do a real good job about that.
Right. No, I think so.
Sounds like a lot of coordination behind the scenes, and communication's coming up again here, right? You're communicating with each other, you're coordinating to make sure that you're getting the priorities done.
Right. I think a lot of grace too. hey, I've got this on my calendar, oh no, I've got this on my calendar too. So what are we going to do? So somebody has to give.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's Roger that gives, and sometimes it's me.
Right.
But we make it work because we know that we want to promote each other.
And that's a big one. We share calendars. Yeah. So literally whenever I pull up my calendar for today, I see Julie's schedule, I see my schedule, I see the Texas Green Plumbing schedule. But that is huge because, like you said, communication is huge, and we don't always and I'll say, Shawn, that's something we still have to work on every day is our communication. Yeah. Because communication is enormous. And if you don't make the time for it, you've got to have systems and processes in place to do it. And the calendar is a great way that we communicate with each other about where we are. And if Julie goes to book something and I come to her and say, oh, I've got something. Well, Roger, you didn't put it in the calendar, so I wasn't aware of it. And I already booked this. Well, now it's me that I'm going to say, okay, look, I messed up.
Yeah.
Let me work on this and see what I can do.
Fix the problem. Yeah. So, Roger, Roger and Julie both, why don't you just give us a quick snippet about your other work so people that are viewing might want to go check out, what you're doing and see what's going on in your worlds. How do people find your stuff?
Go ahead, Julie.
Oh, thank you. For me, jwetiquette.com. We are revamping that, and we are also because now I took some time to help Roger. We've now decided it's time for me to relaunch. So I'm in that process right now. I'm still doing speaking engagements. I'm still doing classes, but I have the online platform now, which is really great it just opens up so many avenues for not only individuals, but for corporations to train more people, get these videos out there. So I'm really excited about that as well.
Me, as you know, YouTube, I am the expert plumber. Mm-hmm. But what's really been growing big here lately is funny, and Shawn, I know you're aware of it, is LinkedIn.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, we have, I started speaking about LinkedIn at some LinkedIn Live DFW events, and I've had people reach out to me asking me, how have you grown on LinkedIn and what have you done? So we're actually looking at doing some possible training on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm one of 12 people in the world doing LinkedIn Live. And I don't know if you saw my video the other day, but I did a LinkedIn Live, and it was funny because at Social Media Marketing World last week, I literally had people come up to me and say, why you?
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I have no idea, but please don't tell LinkedIn they picked the wrong guy.
Right.
Don't let them know.
So on LinkedIn Live, you can find me under Roger Wakefield.
Yep.
On YouTube, go to the Expert Plumber. It's funny, I was doing LinkedIn Live the other day, and there was a guy on there because on LinkedIn Live, I love it because we can communicate and engage with people right then and ask questions, and as well as we do on Facebook sometimes. But the neat thing was, he got on and says, Roger, I want you to know, I went and watched one of your videos on YouTube, and I rebuilt my toilet all by myself. And, that's what we put that information out there for, us to help people.
Right. Yeah, fantastic. So, go check it out. I do love the Expert Plumber because he really does dig into how to do these things. You will learn how to do some projects on your own, or at least understand what the person coming to your house is doing. So that's a great tool. It's a great value added for anybody that owns a home or might be interested in plumbing situations. Really fantastic stuff. So go check out the Expert Plumber. I know Julie's stuff's fantastic. She spoke at my events before. Really gets it. So go check out her work as well. Folks, thanks for tuning in. I want you to take a moment, pat yourself on the back for doing the hard work, investing in yourself, thinking about teamwork. I think you really can build more influence if you work together. Roger and Julie are just one example of how to get it done right. We want to hear what your thoughts are. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Drop some comments and let us know. And then make sure you check out Influencer of Tomorrow, where you can see our past episodes, upcoming episodes, join our email list for some inside tips and tricks. And we look forward to seeing you again on another episode. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and get the bell so you get the notifications. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Shawn.
You guys were great. You were great as usual.